Alright, we all knew that one kid growing up that was missing a few screws in their head. Whoever you have imagined in your mind right now doesn't hold a candle to the utter insanity that was our friend Gus. Before I go any further, it's pretty typical for comedians to over-exaggerate a few parts of a story to make it sound funnier. Everything that I will share today is 100% real and not exaggerated in the slightest. When I first heard of Gus, I was in a PlayStation party with my buddy Liam. The way that he was describing this dude was already setting off some red flags in my head. Newest dude in school, big guy, angry Mexican. Okay, that last part, try to remember for later. And really smart. Again, try to remember this part for later. So, as you can imagine, my image of this guy was someone to not mess with. But over the next week in school, I keep hearing this Gus name. Next thing I know, Gus, during a fit of rage playing lunch football, ripped off Liam's chain and broke it. His reason for such anger was, "I'm just trying to have fun." This is the hallmark example of a Gus story. So, keep in mind, I've never seen this dude, but the image in my mind is somewhere close in between Albert Einstein and Adolf Hitler, who is Mexican. Well, when the day comes that I do get to meet Gus, he wasn't Mexican, just a white dude, and sure as hell wasn't Albert Einstein. I'm not sure how it happened, but Gus merged into our friend group. From this, we got to learn a lot of Gus's life stories. A lot of this Gus lore came from Adventure. For those who spent their high school lunches doing normal things, our high school lunch, or better known as an adventure, was us walking around outside visiting different locations near our high school. So, as we walk and talk, Gus would share some rather bullshit stories about his life. From going on a field trip where 2 kids died, to banging his babysitter at the age of 6. Or teacher, he kept changing his story. To vodka falling in his mouth at the age of 5. Again, this totally happened. Every story from this dude got more and more unbelievable. Of course, when we would eventually bring these stories back up to Gus and question the validity, he would claim he never told us this and that we were just lying out of our asses. If you thought accidentally drinking vodka at the age of 5 was a stupid lie, Gus drinking bong water at the age of 3 might top that. That story notably ticking him off the most when we retell it to him. The thing about Gus is that he's always trying to outdo your story. When someone says they had pubic hair in grade 5, Gus was there to say he had in grade 4. If you got suspended once, he got suspended 4 times. One of which was protecting a fellow student from a teacher, and the other was telling a teacher to fuck off. Some of these May adventures, we would go get some food. May that be 7-Eleven or Little Caesars. Of course, Gus never paid, but to an extent we were fine with paying for Gus's food. From the sounds of it, his home life may have not been the best, and we figured this out, not by him telling us that, but rather him saying he needs permission to spend his money. Lucky for us, however, Gus promised us a restaurant dinner at the end of the month. Wait, never mind, end of grade 11. Alright, never mind graduation. Never mind, never. The takeaway from this May adventure arc is that Gus tends to lie about almost everything in his entire life. Things weren't better in school, however. A notable trait of our dear friend Gus was that he was astronomically loud. If we were walking from one class to another, you bet damn well the entire school heard our conversation. It also didn't help that every second word that came out of his mouth was fuck. So you can imagine the group's shared embarrassment when Gus is telling the world's most offensively fake story, and any adult is to walk by. Then this fucking idiot began to fucking piss me the fucking off. Gus wasn't exactly family friendly is what I'm saying. Stupid fucking enough! On the topic of being insensitive, we love baiting Gus into dumb questions. Dumb questions that lead to dumber answers. One of these questions being, have you ever said the N-word? Most people would not answer this question because, it is stupid. So, you know where this is going. With enough pushing, we got an answer out of Gus, and it was as loud as you can imagine. I have only said the N-word 4 times in my life, and 2 of which was today. Winter came around, and things got even louder. Hanging out in Steph's backyard, we played a classic game of truth or dare. Come Gus's turn, we gave him a simple request, to yell slur. Again, we weren't the most mature teenagers, but what else would you do during a cold winter night? We assumed Gus would ask for a different truth, but nope. Gus walked out the backyard and yells. Well, let's just say him saying the N-word 4 times in his life wasn't exactly true anymore. Karma did pay Gus a visit, however. He's had many injuries over his high school career. Some of these were minor, while some were leaving him in a cast. Surprisingly enough, his worst injuries did not come from football, but rather himself. The first notable injury came from road rash. Which is funny because months ago when we asked Gus what the worst type of cut is, he said road rash. Funny because I assume the worst type of cut someone can get is a sword through the stomach. So, how did Gus get road rash? How about skating down a coulee? For privacy reasons, I won't state the road he went down, but here's a drawn picture of it, and it's pretty damn accurate. The second most notable injury was maybe the funniest thing I've ever witnessed walking to school. Alright, so imagine this. Coming off of a long weekend, I'm walking to school. Oh man, the weekend's over. I gotta test this week. Is that Gus in crutches with a rat tail? Apparently, this injury came from playing catch with his little sister. Unless they were shooting rocks at each other with cannons, I fail to see how playing catch leaves you in crutches. But again, this is Gus we're talking about. Of course, when we ask Gus what happened first, the crutches or the rat tail, we failed to get an answer. It is my personal theory that both events happened at the same time. What may be the funniest and most miserable time in the Gus timeline was our Bio 30 class. Every day was a new incident. Some was from me and Lucio baiting him. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's possible for laptops to run off willpower. Others was just him being an idiot. Some notable examples was him insisting you can get an eyeball transplant. You can't. Dropping pens so loud. Complaining that neuron signals move too slow. I guess 0.10 seconds is too slow for Gus apparently. I'm pretty sure there's much more important things to complain about in life rather than the speed of neurons in your body, Gus. Whispering, quote, whispering to the girl next to him, "Hey, so this is what I think you're supposed to do!" I'm starting to think Gus is deaf or has never whispered in his life. And my least favorite Gus story is that we're doing this test and I'm having a bit of trouble drawing the dihybrid square for this question. Forgive me my explanations, a bit shit, but this question wanted you to draw a 4x4 grid listing the different gene possibilities of these two parents. So basically you just gotta find all the combinations that these parents make. Answer has to be a 4x4 grid. Remember this. Any other way is wrong. It has to be a 4x4 grid. Anyways, I'm having trouble doing this. I look over Gus's paper to see if I can catch a hint of what to do because I'm stumped. So let's just look at Gus's paper, and what do I see? A 2x3 grid. The amount of anger that filled my body from the utter stupidness of what I saw on the paper made me want to go up to the teacher and tell her that I cheated, and I looked at his paper and that the person that I wanted to cheat from is a moron and needs to be bumped down a grade. Don't forget, when we finished the test, he did my favorite pet peeve. You may think we're being a bit too harsh on the guy. And you know, maybe that's true in some regards. But a lot of the shit Gus has done was his fault solely. So you gotta wonder, what's going on inside his mind? What is the final checkpoint in his brain that lets him say some of the shit he says? For instance, leaving McDonald's at like 11 p.m. 6 of us are walking in a line, Gus is in the back, and I'm in front of him. This dude, who's wearing a turban, opens the door for us to leave. Nothing too crazy, right? Well, we're walking out in the line while thanking the kind sir. Gus says, "Thank you, Mr. Jeet." Again, what is the final checkpoint in his brain stopping him from saying this shit? Anyways, we started flaming him for that racist remark, in which he rebutted by saying, No. I said, "Thank you, Mr. Chic." Which, I'm still baffled that he thinks that's any less worse. Another instance of, why the hell are you doing that, is when we were walking around the lake playing Pokemon Go. Already Gus is pissing us off by making stupid comments such as calling a Rattata a Ratitit. Oh, it's a Ratitit. Shut the hell up. And other similar wrong remarks about Pokemon. But this is all whatever, until we walk by a goose. Goose are pretty common where we live. It's just an animal. Who cares? Gus does. Mind you, we're walking around in public, he starts flipping off the bird. Of course, we tell him to stop because that is an embarrassing thing to do at the age of 17, but Gus will die on this hill that it's in his right because they are really annoying. Another hill which he'll die on is his refusal to speak French to us, which is odd as in fact he's taken 3 years of French, and for that 3 years we've asked him the same question. Order a burger in French. Simple? No. Wait, what place? Online or in person? What's on the burger? Order the damn burger! As the end of our senior year approaches, the final Gus stories are taking place. One notable character I've failed to mention thus far is Gus's mom. If Gus is not silently begging to be picked up from halfway across the city, or might as well be the fucking planet, it's his mom driving him, which is a nice thing for his mom to do for him. It's just, what I fail to mention, however, is that his mom doesn't have legs. Because, quote unquote, she lost them from frostbite. Of course, none of us have seen Gus's mom's legs, so I'm quite entitled to believe he is lying here, because it is very much impossible to drive without legs. Another instance of mysterious ghost legs is Gus getting dropped off from his blue-collar job to school. Again, it's a nice thing for his mom to do, and I have no problem with someone working blue-collar. It's just what me and many others have a problem with is bringing your blue-collar to school. There is zero need to be walking around the school smelling like shit and covered in oil. Where the controversy strikes is Gus bringing his steel-toed boots to class, incidentally getting made fun of for it. His reason? They won't fit in my mom's car. Bullshit. There's plenty of room in there due to your mom missing her legs. What may have been the final straw for Gus happened when Gus fought a kid on the football team. That's whatever, not the point of the story. The bullshit is when in the principal's office, when asked who was there watching the fight, Gus thought it was a genius idea to snitch on our friend Lucho to maybe receive a lesser punishment. The thing is, however, Lucho was not there, and Gus was still suspended for a day. When flamed for this, Gus claims it's in his moral compass to tell the truth, which I think you get the point now. All these stories are the same theme. Lying! Next thing you know, we're graduating, and the story of Gus is over. Gus is gone. Off to greener pastures. You're never getting that dinner. Ah, fuck you. Shaun! This video was inspired by Gustew. So thanks for him for the inspiration, and thanks for you watching the video. I'll see you guys later.